Todd was trying to get those afternoon ones brought over. Go ahead and take, did he dictate that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
We've already reviewed the text to bring that up.
Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mayor Lucy, Your Honor.
Yes.
Standing before you is Ronnie with Ronnie Todd. He is here with his attorney Ralph Wilson on 4 indictments: 2023 GS 22, 128, 129, 130, and 131. Those are 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of 1 count of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, as well as 1 count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon or person convicted of a violent felony. Your Honor, we were initially before the court under, Mr. Todd was initially represented by the Georgetown County Public Defender's Office. Mr. Hazard represented him. It was the state's understanding that Mr. Hazard filed a motion to set bond. Mr. Todd has been incarcerated since July 21st of 2022 on these offenses. He had several bond settings, bonds were denied, and that motion was initially filed by Mr. Hazard to have a bond issue considered. Prior to that happening, Your Honor, we projected this case for trial. We placed it on the trial roster as the first case up on the week of March 18th of 2020, just a couple of, I guess, a little over 30 days from now. And then I believe it was last week, Ralph, roughly? Yes. Last week, we got a letter of representation from Mr. Wilson's office that Mr. Wilson was going to assume the representation of Mr. Todd from this point forward. Obviously, Mr. Wilson did not file that motion to reduce bond, to set bond. Mr. Hazard did, so it's the state's understanding that that motion has been withdrawn by the Public Defender's Office. Mr. Wilson didn't file that motion, the Public Defender didn't, and they had withdrawn that motion. So, as a procedural matter, I understand, and Mr. Wilson will affirm this, that we are not here any longer for a motion to set bond, reduce bond. That's been withdrawn, and there is no motion before the court for bond.
The record will reflect, I actually signed the Form 4 this morning withdrawing that. It was public defender's request on that.
Thank you, Your Honor. And now, as a result of that, and a result of conversations back and forth, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Wilson for a second, 2 issues before the court, and I don't know anything about it, and I'm not allowed to know it, but it's my understanding that there was some issue concerning a mental evaluation that was developed, and I'll let Mr. Wilson discuss that, and perhaps we can have a conversation about that. In addition, we have the March 18th trial coming up that is published first up, and I certainly understand Mr. Wilson's position about preparing for that, given the fact that he has to get discovered and everything else. So I think we have a competency concern as well as a possible continuance concern, Your Honor, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Wilson.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir, Mr. Wilson.
thank you. Your Honor, in regards to the continuance, let me say that I was retained in this case, I think on February the 1st. So I've been in this case for about almost 2 weeks today, actually. Part of the problem that I have is that I understand that this case is scheduled for March. I have a trial in Florence, an SVP trial, which is scheduled for the 26th of February. I have a second trial, which is a murder trial in Florence, which is also scheduled for March, I think it's the 8th of March. There's no way with those 2 trials being imminent that I could possibly be ready by March for a 3rd trial of this nature. So I would ask the court to give me some time beyond this term. And as the solicitor has indicated, I have not been provided with any discovery from the state as of this point, but also to be fair to them, I just sent the notice so recently. So none of those things have happened at this point. I would also, because of the seriousness of this case and the serious nature of this case and the circumstances surrounding it, I think that we might consider having an evaluation. That's something that we've discussed or are discussing, but no decision has been made on that as we speak with my client and his family. So I would ask the court, first of all, to grant us continuance beyond the March term, and then let us work out the other issues after that.
All right. Anything from the state? Anything else?
Just somewhat to minimize the impact on all the families involved that have to keep coming back for court hearings. If we believe that this competency concern, and I'm not asking, obviously, Mr. Wilson give up any trial strategy or anything like that. I'm trying to stay away from that. Just while we're all in the same room, it's kind of nice to do some housekeeping matters. I'd like to know if we're talking about competency, stand trial, McNaughton, criminal responsibility. If we are going to go that direction, that these orders encompass all of those aspects, so we can make sure once we get a result, we can move forward to a trial date instead of potentially having another evaluation to clean up. As you're well aware, sometimes you get a competency, but you don't get McNaughton and other things, and I just hope that we can get the package of information together so we can stay on track. But I'm not asking the state defense counsel out on what that might be right now.
Mr. Wilson, if would it be, I think, do you think you would know as far as whether or not you're gonna file those motions in regards to competency
I think
within the next 30 days?
Yes, sir. Actually, within 10 days, I will know what I'm going to do.
All right. What I'm gonna do, I am gonna grant your continuance, for that. I'm gonna continue it for 90 days. Obviously, if there's an evaluation and there's findings that he needs to receive competency treatment, it would be extended out of that. But for scheduling purposes, I'm gonna continue it for 90 days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so, just by way of housekeeping, Your Honor, as Your Honor is well aware, Judge Culberson is conflicted from this case. And my understanding is, so court administration will issue the next judicial assignments coming into the next part of the year
within
in
the next few
June.
weeks, because we haven't received our July to December, assignments yet, but they told us, I did get an email that said that we're supposed to have that in the next couple of weeks.
So if it's a possibility, perhaps we can have a discussion and present some potential trial dates to you after this, when the court schedule comes out. After this
That'd be
time.
great, and I'm all for a scheduling order. I think that would help Mr. Wilson as far as planning as well as the state.
Yes.
It helps guide the victims and both families involved on what to expect. It helps a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We have one more, Your Honor.